And at the time, my purpose was to be accepted for everyone else, which is a horrible purpose to have. But over time, the things that I told myself was I'm enough, I'm good enough. And especially now that I'm in the space that I am in now, I always have to tell myself, you're enough, DeAndre, you got this.
3 red flags in corporate America that I wish I knew were red flags when I started. Very long, drawn out interviews. We don't need 7 interviews for you to figure out if you want to hire me or not.
The biggest piece of advice I can give for young professionals is to leave home.
Oh, don't let my class fool you. I love a good hood jam. Never run away. You nobody special.
An espresso martini is the elite's go-to. I don't want to be anywhere that doesn't have it.
Welcome to 2 Decades Deep. My name is Taylor Howard. I am the host of the podcast. This is our last episode, and I cannot believe we are here. Before we get into it, I need you to hit that subscribe button. We want you to follow us along on the journey. And it's crazy that I am here at my mama's house, and I am actually with my best friend for the season finale. You may know him as the corporate baddie. You may know him as Marion's finest, a content creator. But I know him as DeAndre Brown.
Yes.
I am so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're in Chicago. I'm so glad that we are sitting on my mom's couch where a lot of our dreams were created.
Yes.
I think about all our memories that we've had together from dancing. It was Triller back then. It wasn't TikTok yet. Our car rides to McDonald's, us going to your house, us playing with your dog. Like, it's been such a full circle moment.
Snoopy.
No, literally,
Rest in
R.I.P.
peace.
Dang, not me making this sad.
Right?
Like, not me making this sad.
Already.
No, literally, like, let's not cry yet.
Okay.
But I think that it's crazy that we're here and to see your success and all you've literally exceeded everyone's expectations. I mean, we always thought you were going to be everything, but it's just crazy to see that you're here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Like I was saying earlier, just being in this space, it just brings back so many memories. And even from the couch to the setting and just being comfortable. Like, I feel so comfortable right now. And honestly, I'm so excited. Honestly, I feel like people say that all the time about everything they do, but I really am excited to be sitting here and talking to you because you are somebody who has known me before any of this. Like, you knew me when I was just a little boy, fresh in Marian Catholic High School, didn't know what I was doing, didn't even want to go to an HBCU at the time. Like, I was so against HBCUs, people. And now we're here. So
Literally.
Great.
Yeah, and I remember when we first started to have this exposure to being in media, when we both had a show at Marian Catholic. We both had a show, and so to see us here now, I literally can't believe it. Yeah. So we're going to get into it. Mm-hmm. But I want to know, can you walk me through like a pinch me moment that you had when you first started to rise in the TikTok game?
When you say pinch me moment, elaborate.
So a moment where you just couldn't believe that this was your life.
Okay. When I first started rising on TikTok, I think honestly, I will say the pinch me moment happened more recently when I went back to Marian Catholic High School, our high school, to do a segment for ABC7 Chicago. And it was just such a pinch me moment simply for multiple reasons. And I think one of those reasons was the fact I was being interviewed by the famous Val Warner.
That was crazy.
And growing up in Chicago, if anybody listening is from Chicago, you would know that Val Warner is, I don't know, we call her like Auntie Val.
Yeah.
So I saw her on my screen every morning, and then being able to go back to my school was okay, I'll be honest with you all. I was kind of against going back there at first, but then I really sat and I thought about what that meant. And it's like, as a Black, gay boy growing up in the South Side of Chicago, there wasn't a lot of representation at that school, people that looked like me or identified as me. It's probably like 2 people.
Yeah, it was literally
so
2 or 3.
to be one of the people that was able to go back and speak on the behalf of the entire school was such a pinch me moment for me.
Yeah, what emotions were coming up for you when you were walking through those halls?
I thought about one of my friends who also is another Black gay male from the south suburbs of Chicago, Harold Norwood. That was the first thing I thought about, because when I had first transferred, because you remember, for those that don't know, I went to Shy Arts at first, a school in the city of Chicago for the arts. And I transferred to Marian Catholic my junior year, I think. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anybody. I knew no one. I was like, I'm trying to think of an analogy to use, but I didn't know anybody. And when we were walking through the hallways, I remember he came up to me, grabbed my lanyard, and was like, "Who are you? I've never seen you before." And now him and I are also really good friends as well. And that was the first moment that came up, simply because it was the little piece of myself that I found when I was so nervous and scared to be in this new space. Like, I'm going to a Catholic school. I don't see anyone that identifies me. I feel like I'm the only one here. I'm like, where do I fit in? And to see somebody come up to me and, we locked in, I don't know, it was a big moment for me. And that rushed through my mind. Whatever other things that rushed through my mind were detentions. I was in detention a lot, child, because I wasn't wearing lanyards. I wasn't tucking in the shirt. Like, I keep telling people this, I was not the best student in high school. I'll be honest, I was not your best buttoned up student in high school until like senior year. And I think a part of the reason why I did become better throughout school was because I had people like you and in my life that, really motivated me to do better. Because one thing about Taylor Howard, and I know this is so off topic and we were supposed to be talking about the moment in that moment, but one thing about Taylor, just giving you your flowers, is you were that girl in high school. She was in everybody's club. She was always doing something. And having people around like that really motivated me to just want more and to do more besides just be popular. I don't know. And to have a purpose. And I think you were one of the people that helped me realize that there's more to life. I can do purposeful work. I can do things as well, which is why I started doing community service. I joined, what was the club called?
Club?
No, oh God, I didn't do that one. I was vice president of the
student council.
Like, I started doing things because I saw people like you that were doing it. And I'm like, I could do more than just be the chatty box, But yeah.
You don't make me cry.
But back to your original point. Yeah, there were a lot of emotions running through my mind while I was walking through those hallways. And yeah, I don't know. It was like I was sad, but I was also so happy. I felt, granted, I'm not in a place where I want to be in my life, and I say that all the time. I think my journey is just starting. Mm-hmm. But it caused me to really, I feel like when you're always on the go and you're always moving, you forget to sit back and take in all that you've done so far. And I think that was my first moment where I said, man, I really have done this. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I totally understand when you're reflecting on a season of your life, it can't, like, both things can be true. You can feel a wave of great emotions and a wave of bad emotions. Yeah. And it was just so cool to see you walk those halls, go through your yearbook, talk about your journey. And yeah, it was just such a proud moment for you, for me to see you do that. And we're going to go a little bit into the segment in a little bit, but I want to ask you, so you have coined the corporate baddie. That is who you are. For those who don't understand or are looking to find some confidence in that, how would you describe what a corporate baddie is?
Yeah, a corporate baddie is really, shortly put, somebody who stands up and sets boundaries for themselves in the place of work. I always say there's a few characteristics that make you a true corporate baddie. And that is someone, you set those boundaries, you put yourself first. You show up to work, you do your job, and you do your job well. And because you do your job well is why you're able to set those boundaries at work. I can't stand when there's this thing with amongst Gen Z where, oh, Gen Z's lazy, Gen Z doesn't want to work. And I think what really should be discussed is, no, we're not lazy. We want to do work differently, right? But it's hard to always be able to get behind that when there are a portion of Gen Z who are lazy and don't want to work. And then they're hopping on the trend like, well, we're just setting boundaries, but you're not working. Like you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
But a corporate baddie is somebody who does work, and they do work hard for the things that they want, but they also do set their boundaries and put themselves first and prioritize themselves. I feel like I just said the same 3 things 3 different ways. Put yourself first, put boundaries, prioritize yourself. Yeah, so that's that. And a corporate baddie, they know you have your style. You come dressed well for the office. When I was working in corporate America, I could not stand seeing people not put together come into work. Like, girl, brush your hair, let your hair down, put on a tie, like iron your shirt. Like, it's little things that people genuinely just don't 100%. Do. And a corporate baddie comes ready. We come prepared. We come fresh, energized, to give our best 9 to 5 that we have, because what do we do at 5 o'clock? We shut our laptops and we go about our day and our business. So
100%. Yeah. I remember my first corporate baddie moment when it was time for me to have my first job. I remember I have a boomer mother. And so what comes with that is you need a dress, you need a blazer, and I came overly dressed. I mean, for those that work at a WeWork, you know that is a super casual environment.
Oh, at WeWork?
So I was doing the most. But I think that really set the standard, though. I think they thought that, I am like a professional, that I was here to work. I was here to work hard. And so I do think those little things really do set the standard on how to be a corporate baddie.
Yeah, they really do. And I say this a lot. I was a sales minor in college, and one thing I learned, the biggest thing I took away from sales was, before you even go in and give a sales pitch, you're selling yourself. Mm-hmm. So the way you show up is so important, because that's the first thing people are going to see and judge. And I took that with me, not even just for selling, but simply just for utilizing throughout life in general. How you show up and how you look is so important, because people are going to judge you based off of that. So when you're going into a corporate space, it's so important that you show up as your best self. And I also realized that when you are dressed for success, you perform better
100%.
Because you feel like the person you're dressed as and the person that you're showing up as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, and it sucks because we always say like appearance isn't everything, and it's not, but I do think that, especially us Gen Z, we grew up in a digital world. All we see is curated photos. All we see is what we deem to be reality. And so I do think it's like super important to come correct and set for success.
Yeah.
But we're going to play a quick game.
Okay.
So you can't think too much into it. It's rapid fire elite edition.
Okay.
Whatever comes to your mind first, I want you to say it, okay?
Got you.
Espresso martini with vodka or espresso martini with tequila?
Tequila.
Why is that?
Because espresso martini tastes better with tequila, because a tequila has better like vanilla notes. Mm-hmm. And the way I like my tequila to be very, what's the word? Creamy and very like a vanilla latte. That's the word. It's like a vanilla latte. So when you have those tequila notes, it just really adds to it. And also, I just don't do vodka, because when I'm drunk on vodka, I'm a very mean and nasty, ignorant drunk. So I just stay away from vodka altogether, and we just stick to tequila, even though vodka's skinnier. But
vodka is skinnier.
It is skinnier.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're young.
Yeah.
Just going to Stairmaster for an hour a day. That's what I do. You were with me when I was on the Stairmaster.
That was ridiculous. Like, I'm like, at what point are we going to get off this?
You don't. You go for it. You have to like step off all the calories that comes with tequilas.
Yeah, I've never done the Stairmaster as long as that again.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so good. Like, just do it. But your body's tea. Like, you look good. Like, you don't need it.
Thanks to Solid Core. All right, ultimate hood jam.
Ooh, right now. Okay, well, I have to say the one that put me on the map. I can't think of the name of the song now.
No, that wasn't it.
Nobody Special.
Yes.
It's by Future and Hot Boy, I think.
Yeah.
I have to say that one because that's what put me on the map. Background story on that, I actually found out about that song through one of my friends that also went to Marion. You know, my friend Amani Figueroa.
Yes.
She came to Dallas to visit me, and she would not, and at the time I did not like the song, and she would not stop playing. I was like, girl, like, we get it. You like the song. And then when, you know, after a song, you hear so much, eventually it's like, okay, I like the song now because I've heard it so much. Like, you start doing the Wendy Williams.
No, literally.
So that was me. I started being like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. And then I just made that video from there. But that's my ultimate hood jam simply because it put me on the map as I love a good hood jam. Don't let my class fool you. I love a good hood jam.
I love that. That was my favorite. And what's the song that you're jamming to now though?
Future, Yeah, I'm Fried.
I don't even know that song.
It's a good one. I think it's called Yeah, I'm Fried or She a Vibe. One of the two.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. What is one fashion trend you hope never returns?
Skinny jeans.
What? Not me wearing skinny jeans.
No, like not even more so for women, but for men.
Okay.
I do not like, you know, like when men wear like ultra skinny jeans like this. I used to be one of those men that wore, like, my jeans used to literally, I don't know if they could see it, but like it would be like this. Yeah, I just hate skinny jeans now. I don't know. I think for men, I just love a baggy jean.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've even recognized in like my photos on social media. All my jeans are baggy. I love a baggy jean with a boot.
I actually do too.
Yeah.
Like, I think I don't know. It's just a cute aesthetic. It gives like Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Not Cowboy Carter.
Literally. I'm like, what am I talking about? We see I'm not the fashion one. Okay. What is one fashion trend you wish would come back?
What's gone?
Like layered clothing.
Don't people still do that?
I actually
Oh, you know what I want to come back so bad?
What?
The way like people used to dress on Disney Channel when they would do like tutus with a legging with a vest.
Right. But skinny jeans is where you like where you
Because
cross the line.
I think that the tutu with the leggings, with the vest, with the t-shirt under, with the hat on, it just gives me moment in time. Like, oh, this was such a fab moment.
That's true.
While skinny jeans is just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I do like staple clothing. Like, it's like, I know that was literally 2007.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think skinny jean has a time period because it comes back. I mean, is it even, some could argue it's never out of style.
Yeah.
But like, you know, something that reminds me of a time period. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not the biggest, like, I think I've dressed like this since like high school.
your style's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But it's good. It works. It's a good thing though, because it just gives me, I always say you're like you give me like Michelle Obama or Oprah. And that's good. It's very
like simple.
But not even just simple. It really is who you are. And that's what I also love about fashion is when it is a representation of who you actually are. And it's really who you are. You are a very down-to-earth woman, loving, caring. Aww. And it's like a mom energy. It's like, oh, like this is mom. And you give me that as your style. And I love it because you don't try to be someone you're not when you're like putting on clothes. Yeah. And I think that's what I do too, and why people gravitate towards my style as of recently for whatever reason too, because I am a business person. I do show that business side of me, and that's why I love a suit. Like, I wear a suit. And I think now that I do business, but my business is also very creative too, I've embraced and brought in my creativity throughout my fashion as well. And it's just who I am. Like, I love nice pieces. I love a designer moment. I love things that everyone's not gonna have. And that's just me. So yeah, I do love, speaking to the fashion point, I do love when the fashions are things that are pertaining to a person's actual self.
I agree. Yeah, you've always been Mr. Put It On. Like, even in high school, the things that you put together, you and our friend Terrell, like, you guys have always been, you always had a fashion statement.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna get a little local.
Okay.
Harold's or Uncle Remus? And this is a very big Chicago debate.
You know, I've never had Uncle Remus. Yeah, so Harold's. Yeah.
I mean, I think Harold's too, but...
Yeah, I've never had it. I heard Uncle Remus, whatever
Remus.
it is. I heard that their mild sauce is better, though.
It is. It's sweet. It's really sweet, though. It's like really sweet.
I like sweet.
Yeah, I think you should go to Uncle Remus before we're done.
Isn't that over west? Yeah, I don't go on that side of town, child. Keep me over here.
We'll stay in the South Subs. LA, New York, or Chicago?
But what if can I say all three?
Okay.
But for all different things. I like Chicago because it reminds me of home. Mm-hmm. And well, it is home. Not it reminds me of home. It's literally home. I see my family here. I get so much love from people in Chicago. And Chicago just feels so down to earth. It feels like a breath of fresh air. Every time I just need a refresher, I like to come home. LA, because LA is A, where I reside, and B, LA gives me chill vibes. So I'm always traveling for work. I'm always going somewhere. So when I come home and I'm in LA, I just lay in bed all day. And maybe I'll go to the beach, or maybe I'll do something with nature. And it just gives me chill because the weather's always good and you just relax. In New York, I still like to party too. I'm young. I like to party. I like to turn up.
Young and turn.
And that's why I like New York, because New York gives me that vibe. There's always something to do. And it's not like superficial or fake or vibes like that, like LA can give sometimes. So I like them all for different things, but I love all three of them.
We have a few more.
Okay.
What is your favorite TikTok trend? Or what has been your favorite TikTok trend?
Oh, my favorite TikTok trend. I feel like there's so many that come and go. My favorite TikTok trend. Okay, can I ask what's yours?
You know what's been giving me life lately?
What?
I just broke up with my ex. He said, I'm sorry. That's my man.
I don't know that. That's another crazy thing about TikTok. Everyone's For You pages are so different. What is my favorite TikTok trend? Took her to the, you know how it go.
Yeah. Doesn't ring a bell.
And they start like sliding backwards like they're ice skating. Oh, not ice skating, like roller skating, but there's no roller skates. I don't know. I love that trend.
Well, I've never seen that.
It's good. I have to show you it.
Yeah, no, show me
It's
afterwards.
like, you know how it goes. She won the snow.
I know what you're talking about.
Did
and
you
then you Dougie back.
Well, I haven't seen a Dougie back. I've seen a slide like you're roller skating back. I don't know about Dougie.
Okay. We have slightly different algorithms.
I see, child.
My last question is, what is the best advice you've gotten in your 20s so far? This episode is sponsored by Mason Day Vibes. We all know every scent carries with it a story that freezes a moment in time, and Mason Day Vibes does that for me. This room fragrance line not only smells amazing and provides luxurious quality, but it is non-toxic, sustainable, and natural. Whether you are in the mood for a peaceful getaway or an energizing atmosphere, these room sprays take you on a journey, just like your 20s. Use our discount code TDD20 for a 20% discount.
Ooh, I've gotten so much. You know what? I think for me personally, the best advice is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think that it's pretty standard advice, but it resonates so much with me because I'm a person, I feel like I have to have everything figured out overnight. And I tend to overly, especially as somebody whose life is online and you see other people's whose lives are online, I start to feel like I'm not in the space I want to be. I want to be here. Why am I not here? What am I doing wrong? And recognizing that everybody's journey is different and it really isn't a sprint. We have time. I'm still so young, and to everyone in their 20s watching this, you're still so young and you have so much time and you have so much time to do what it is that you want to do and what you want to achieve in this world. And there's really no set deadline on the things that you want to do. And I tend to think, oh, there's a deadline. If I don't have this by then it's not possible for me to attain. But we see so much in the world now where people are achieving their goals and their dreams at such a later time than they ever did in the past, only simply because it's now broadcast. So I think instead of, especially for people in their 20s, instead of fixating on people in their 20s that are doing things that you want to do, like I think that's a good point to have to keep you motivated and to keep you inspired for more. But also look at the stories and read the stories of people who didn't achieve success and get to the spaces they wanted to be until way later in their careers and in their life. I know a lot of, I'm not saying that a billionaire is anyone to look up to, but I know a lot of really successful or rich people, when you hear about their stories, they all achieved and got their success at a way later age than you would imagine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, so I'm 26, but when I was 24, I moved to DC. I was living with my cousins and I felt like a failure and I felt so behind. And I had a quarter life crisis because we live in this rat race culture where we feel like we have to have everything now, immediate gratification. And so when I was in my early careers, when I was just figuring it out, I felt like a failure. But yeah, you really do realize like, wait, this is my journey. I have my own purpose. I have my own race to run, but it is really hard.
No, yeah. And even to your point, because I too felt that same thing where I felt like a failure. I felt like I quit my job. I did all these things to get me to this next level in life. And I had felt so still and stagnant for so long. And I thought my 15 minutes were up. And I thought this was no longer, this wasn't me anymore. And now what do I do? And I think through those times where we feel like failures or we feel as if we're done or our time is over is where we learn so much. And I've realized this through my journey. And I don't know, maybe you've learned it too. We learn so much about ourselves and just about who we are, the things we want, and really start to change our process on how our outlooks on life. Mm-hmm. I think another part of that is because we do hold God close to us too. Mm-hmm. And and I think with me and my journey, as far as holding God close to me, I had to realize that you don't just hold him when things are good. You hold him when things are, you don't just hold him when things are bad. You hold him when things are good too. Mm-hmm. And that was like the hardest lesson I had to learn because I always just reached out when I needed something. But then I got to a space where I'm good. And I'm like, you know what? I should still be reaching out and building that relationship because it's a relationship. It's like asking your mom for $20 just when you need it, but never checking in on her any other time. You know?
That's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I totally, and I know that maybe not everyone is a Christian, but I do think that a lot of people believe in a higher power and that things are working for your good. And so I definitely resonate with that a lot. And we've talked about your success a little early, but let's take it back to the beginning. Okay. We're going to take it back to Morehouse though. Okay. So in 2017, you first got there. Can you just tell me a little bit about what your experience was like at an HBCU?
I haven't really dug too deep into my experience on an HBCU, but I'll share this to give you a little snippet on that. My first day at Morehouse College, there was a party that evening, and I was with one of my friends who went to Spelman, and we were sitting on a rock waiting for this bus to take us to the party. And I heard a guy behind me, literally, he was like, yeah, and that faggot just moved into the unit across from me, like just and he was talking about me, not knowing that I was literally right next to him. So my friend stood up for me and she got him together. But it was the first time I realized that people don't respect me or like me because of who I am. And that got me into a very weird space emotionally, because this is like the first day I'm in school. And I feel like I was kind of sheltered going to like private schools and stuff. I didn't ever feel or see the hate to my face. I'm sure it was there, but it was never to my face. I mean, this wasn't to my face either. But hearing it behind my back let me know, yo, people really say these things about me or say these things about people like me. And it was hard. And I remember telling my RA, and I put it in a group chat for my dorm, and everyone just kind of laughed and thought it was a joke. Like, they didn't take me serious. No one took me serious. No one ever even digged into it. And there's a lot of other instances where that did happen on campus as well. And it made me realize people don't respect you. Like, people won't respect you. And I think I had to realize, being at an HBCU, everyone handles it differently, right? But being a Black gay man at an HBCU, I had to demand respect. And the only way you can get respect, honestly, I'm just being honest here, the only way you can demand respect as a Black gay man at an HBCU is through your success. So I honed in on everything I did. Like, you remember, I did every big internship. I was in every club. Not only was I in the club, I was running the club. I was top of my sales team. I did everything. And I watched how people put respect in me simply because of my capabilities and not just because of who I am. And it was a sad realization for me, because it made me start to feel like I can only succeed in this. I can only be respected in this world by not who I am, but what I can do. And it was sad, but I don't want people that attend HBCUs and other people to feel like they have to do that, because I think I missed out on so much greatness that HBCUs have to offer, because I just overfixated in the work. Like, I didn't even party on campus. I didn't do campus activities. I would go to school, kill it, do all my extracurriculars, and then I would go party in the Atlanta scene. I wouldn't even party at school because I just didn't feel welcome. And it all was because of those several moments where I felt disrespected. I felt like no one respected me. But I watched how, as I became more successful, I guess you can say successful, and started doing a lot of activities on campus, and that people started respecting me. And then everybody was just like, yeah, like, that's Dre, like, he's cool. But I still watch how they disrespected other people who identify with me as well that weren't doing what I was doing. Which is why I fight so hard for Black students in general going to getting a higher education, but specifically like Black gay students as well, because we're needed in those spaces. And I think as times change, people can advocate in different ways. I don't think I advocated. Looking back, I don't think maybe the way I went about it at a HBCU was the best way to advocate, because I was very just me focused. Like, I'm just going to hone in on me to get you all to respect me. And I feel like when you do that, you don't think about the next person that's coming after you. It's all about you. And that's my biggest regret at a HBCU. I feel like I could have got more active. And as I got to those spaces and in those roles, I could have lend it out to other people who look like me, like, hey, maybe you should join this, or maybe you should get a part of this, instead of just saying, oh, well, I got it, everyone respects me, I'm good. Yeah,
I appreciate you being so transparent about that. And I think that's something that we often overlook in our early 20s. Is the reality is we are Black people and we are minorities, and sometimes within our own communities we can tear each other down. And we're all trying to find ourselves, and we're all trying to figure our identity out, and it's hard to be in those spaces. And so you do have to overperform. I think that's something that people often overlook as people of color, period, is that we have to try twice as hard. And you being a Black gay man, you had to work triple as hard. I have found myself, especially in a journalism program, I went to a PWI, so I had a different experience than you did. And I think being in journalism, I was molded and my curriculum mirrored what it would be like to be like a white man. And I was told things like, don't change your hair too much, or I would realize that sometimes I felt like I was a personality hire, or like I was trying to fit a certain mold. And so you do really take those things to heart. And the only way people of color know how to overcome that is to fight for it, is to attain and achieve those things. Yeah. But I'm wondering for you, what were some of the things that you had to tell yourself, or what were some of the inner work that you had to do for yourself in order to overcome that?
That's a really good question. And I'll be honest, throughout college, I don't really think I did any inner work. It was just all about everything I was doing throughout college was for everyone else, if that makes sense. But and I don't want to sit here and bash my school entirely. While that work I was doing was for acceptance and to be seen, I think that a part of it got me to where I'm at today. It caught because it made me focus. And I naturally am not a very focused person, being honest. But that made me focus because like I'm doing this for a purpose. And at the time, my purpose was to be accepted for everyone else, which is a horrible purpose to have. But over time, I think I've realized, and as I kind of like got out of, matriculated out of Morehouse College, the things that I told myself was I'm enough, I'm good enough. And especially now that I'm in the space that I am in now, I always have to tell myself, you're enough, DeAndre, you got this. Like, don't think about what everybody else thinks about you. Don't over fixate on other people's thoughts of you. Because everybody's going to always have something to say. So that's something I tell myself a lot. I don't know, I tell myself so much. Also, I'm always just reminding myself, similar to what we talked about earlier, that I'm on the right path. It may be blurry at points throughout the journey, but you are on the right track. Just stay on that track and you'll be good.
And like you said, everything, every season, every trial and tribulation does set you up to where you need to be. Yeah. And so you graduated from Morehouse and then you started your corporate life at City, right?
Yes.
You moved to Dallas. You were starting your early careers life. Can you just tell me a little bit about some of the initial challenges that you experienced in early careers? Because from my experience, imposter syndrome was a thing. Yeah. Even adapting to the fact that, wait, I have to get up from 9 to 5. I have to be completely on. I'm exhausted. So can you just talk about some of the initial challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I will talk about that. But first, before I talk about dude. Cody. Before I even hop into that question, I do want to say, because I feel like I just threw a lot of dirt on my HBCU. I also will say being at an HBCU was the best time of my life. It is the place where I've met some of my greatest friends. I learned so much about myself, and I realized the importance of, I think Marian kind of taught me this a little bit too, but just the importance of prioritizing your life and prioritizing the things in your life, and also being organized with your life. And yeah, so I don't want to completely bash the school, because I think the school is phenomenal. And I think that at HBCU, I would not ever take that experience back. Like, I had a great experience, even though there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of me not feeling wanted or accepted. I did still learn so much and get so much from that HBCU experience that I would have not gotten at any other school. And you realize once you leave your HBCU, how this is not like the rest of the world. Like, this is not the real world. Oh my goodness. Like, being at an HBCU is not the real world. And that's why I'm always so quick to go back for homecoming. I'm always so quick to do like an event that's for Black excellence or for the Black community, because it reminds me of those experiences that I had at my HBCU. And also I think being around a lot of Black success was very monumental for me and really helped mold me into the person I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up in the world. And I don't think I would have seen that as much if I had decided to go to a PWI. So, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Like my sister goes to Howard and I'd be up and through that campus just to like hang out with her or to help her out. And to see all these Black young professionals like in the med school or even just to see the undergrad, there is a different type of chip on people's shoulders. And it is really cool to see a bunch of Black kids just grinding it out together, working together. It is really nice.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally a breath of fresh air seeing it. And now, you know, I go to a lot of different colleges and I'll speak at different schools. And, you know, I go to different schools and they're not always HBCUs, right? But I realize when I do go to those HBCUs still, it's so many, I just see so many bright eyes and bushy tails just wanting to learn, wanting to gain experiences and hear new ways and new forms of thinking. And I think HBCU students, I don't know, they just are they're so different, but like in a great way.
Yeah.
And I love them. I love HBCUs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The feeling is addicting. When you're there, it's like you want to be excellent. You
Yeah.
want to be the top of the game. And not in a way that's like, I want to be better than you. It's just like, I'm seeing who's to the left and to the right of me. This is from a bird's eye view going to my sister's walking on her campus. And I'm able to see that. And I want to be better by interacting with her.
And that's what you want to be around.
Yeah.
You want to be around people who, like people always say, if you're the smartest one in your friend group, it's time for a new friend group, you know? And that's super true. Just seeing so many people that you can look up to and you're inspired by, and being in an environment where not only can you look up and be inspired by them, but they also look like you. So I'm literally like, oh my gosh, if this is possible for them, then it's possible for me as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a really good takeaway, especially that's probably catapulted you into your early careers and you didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Where you're able to look back and reach back to see who's coming after you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that leads me into your point about corporate life. And you asked me when I got into corporate, how...
We don't even have to talk just about the challenges, but just what was your initial matriculation from undergrad to early careers? Because you had to move. You moved with your dog. You're starting a rotational program.
Yeah. It was a switch. I saw this thing on Twitter recently, and I think it sums it up perfectly. They said going into corporate America is realizing that you can't just not go to your 8 a.m. class or something like that, because you have to actually wake up and go to work. You know, sometimes at school, I don't know if this is always the right thing to do, but sometimes in school, you know, we'll have a 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. class and we partied. Okay, maybe I'm telling on myself and maybe no one else did this but me. But
right,
you'll
speak
party.
for yourself.
You'll do Thirsty Thursdays, and then you got that 8 a.m. Friday morning. You'd be like, I'm not going to make it to this 8 a.m. class today. That was me, at least. I don't know. But you realize in corporate America, you do Thirsty Thursdays on Thursday. You still have to be up at 8 a.m. for work the next morning. You absolutely 100%. Do. So it was just I think that's a transition for anybody going from college to the workforce, is realizing that there's a different level of discipline you have to have. College is, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into college, but you still get a lot of slack. While when you're in the workforce, no, like you can't slack off because this is your job. You will get fired and you will have nothing. And so that was a big shift for me, realizing, oh, I'm an adult now. It's also a shift, like nobody is there to ask me, DeAndre, why weren't you here today? Or what's going on in your life? Why didn't you? Like sometimes you have professors that genuinely caring, they're usually, yeah, Deandre, we didn't see you for the last 2 classes. No, you'll just get an email from HR saying you no longer have a job, babes.
Okay.
Like, we haven't seen you, you're fired, you know? So it was different there. I think it was also just a shift, really getting adjusted to corporate culture. And I made a video about this recently, just corporate politics, and realizing what is the proper way to actually get ahead within corporate America, and recognizing that that is not through just the work you do, but it's really through the connections and the people you meet. So learning how to communicate, learning how to express what it is that you want and the relationships that you want to have, and just learning the proper way to build relationships within the corporate space were huge changes that you don't even recognize until you actually get in the space. I tell this story all the time about my first time at a happy hour event. And, you know, they said open bar. Okay, that means open bar means the drinks are free, the drinks are flowing. You can get what you want, get as you please. And I had so many glasses of wine. It's insanity. I don't even think I will admit how many.
You went to town.
I had so many glasses of wine. I think I had like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I said it in my video before. I had like 6 or 7 glasses of wine. And this was at my first happy hour, and I was there. It was me, and then I had a mentor who was also a black person that worked at City, a black man that worked at City. And I got lit, and I started just talking too much. And, you know, I was doing it because I felt comfortable, because the other people, like my white counterparts, were doing it. They were having 5, 6, 7, 8 cocktails and talking and telling all their business. So I was doing it too. And I started telling all my business. I told everybody, and I don't even know why I said this, because it's not even true, but I told everybody, everyone was talking about, because everyone was married, because I was the youngest on the team. I was 22, 21, 22, somewhere around there. And everyone was like 30, late 30s, 40s, 50s. And I just like, oh my gosh, like I want to get married and have a family. And everyone was like, oh my goodness, no you don't. Like, you're so young, like enjoy your youth, blah, blah, blah. And it had become a running joke at the company. Like, oh, Deandre wants to get married. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then my mentor had told me, you know what, Deandre, when you go to these corporate events, you don't do this. We're not allowed to sit and drink and get lit like the rest of them, because the things we do, they're held against us. And he just had to kind of teach me the ropes and how to navigate being black in corporate America, because it's so different than not being black in corporate America. We just have such a different experience.
Yeah, but let's break that down a little bit. So you talked about there's a level of discipline you have to have as an early careers person, or a careers person in general. It's not just for early careers, but then you also were talking about there's a level that you have to hold yourself to being a black person in these corporate settings. So what are some of the tangible things that people can do in order to attain maybe more of a corporate composure?
And there are little things that are overlooked. Just the way you greet people and the way you show up every day to work. So I know we talked earlier about the way we sell ourselves. So what you wear, that's something you can do, making sure that you are dressed for the part. I think another tangible thing that people can do is, let me see.
I can share one that I had to learn that I was like, oh shoot. I think what I had to learn is just like, in these settings, you have to be on. And I don't mean on in an authentic way, but I think just being an active listener, not being on my phone. I'm one in my journalism program, I multitasked. And so when I'm in front of my peers, I really need to show up. I also learned that it's actually okay now I know this goes against the boundaries a little bit, but sometimes it's okay to stay a little later or put on an ad hoc project. I learned that sometimes that really does set you out, or work a little harder than I normally would, just so I can make sure that I'm abreast of like all the methodologies and all the things of the company. So I think that those were some of the things that I had to learn as I go. Now, I don't think that you should do that all the time, but I think there are spaces for, I could take on that ad hoc project, or I can stay a little later just to get a tune of what's going on in my company.
Another thing that you can really do is really set aside time for coffee chats. And really understanding the company that you work at. I realize from working in corporate America, there's a lot of people who are there for a check and they don't even really know the different parts of the business. They don't, and it's so important that you not only know your part of the business, but you know all the parts of the business and how they all work together, and how the role that you do specifically correlates with those other parts of the business as well. So really understanding your job is super important. Not even just your job, but just the company in general. Something so small that people miss, that people don't get right, is simply emails. Just how you go about phrasing an email, making sure that what you're saying is direct and to the point. And adding in advice on meetings. I think that's hard sometimes when it comes to, that imposter syndrome and that starting to sneak in. We can silence ourselves because we're scared. We're afraid to talk because we already don't feel like we're supposed to be here anyways. And it's so important that we make sure that we are adding value to calls, right? Because you're there for a reason. And there's literally a reason why you're at the company. There's a reason why you're in that meeting. And it's important that you don't just be silent the entire time, because your employers will see that. They will see, okay, DeAndre's not adding anything to this. DeAndre's not, they note those things. And it's important that you're always adding value to just calls, and just adding value to not even just calls, but also just adding value to your team overall. And that could be with like small things as well, like making people feel seen, making people feel appreciated, and understanding that the team is so much larger than just you, right? I feel like sometimes we can only think about ourselves in those spaces, which, I mean, you should always think about yourself. But if you have let me rephrase that. If you have a good team, because if you don't have a good team, put yourself first, screw those people. And I stand by that, because there's a lot of managers who are trash, who are really bad managers, and they don't deserve respect. I'm sorry. They don't deserve to be checked in on. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I just had to go on that tangent because I dealt with a bad manager before. But when you do have good management, you do have a good team, it's just important to show them that you value them, that you appreciate them, and that you respect them as well. So I think those are a few tangible things on top of the things you said, and really just becoming an expert in soft skills, which I feel like is something that's not taught that much in like college or in high. Well, I don't know why we would be learning that in high school, but I don't think that's something that's taught that much in college. And becoming an expert in soft skills really does set you apart in those spaces too.
Yeah, you ate with the email etiquette. I even think about after a meeting that I have or a one-on-one I have, I'll email them after just to recap, just to make sure both of us are on one page, because that increases communication. And also being a culture add, not necessarily a culture fit, but a culture add, and just adding value in those little ways. Like I even think about, we have a yay channel where we acknowledge someone's birthday, or we have a thank you channel where we can thank someone just for doing the little things. And I think that ultimately increases and adds a lot of value to the culture in the company.
For sure. Like I remember when I was at Cities, there was always, I don't want to say it like that, but there was always somebody going out on maternity leave or somebody getting married. And I say like every week it was somebody else getting pregnant or getting married, and just checking in with them. Sometimes I would say, hey, we'll love, like I would, if we weren't as close, I would just send an email like, congrats, Or if we work closer, schedule a call. Like, congratulations. Let me know if there's anything I can do, but say that, but it's just the right things. It's the right thing to do. Just show that you care. There's something else I wanted to add. I can't remember now, but I'm sure as we talk, it'll come back around.
Yeah. And you were in your rotational program, and then you started to create content surrounding corporate life.
Yeah.
One, what prompted you to start that? And was that an experience that you had, or did you just observe some of your peers having that experience and then you started adopting that with your content?
Yeah, I think the reason I started doing corporate content was I was in a space where I wanted to help minorities specifically gain access to corporate America. And I know how difficult that can be, especially when you're in high school and you don't know how to navigate it. So that was my original purpose with creating my content online. So a lot of my videos were more informative. It was sitting down. Here's resume tips. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do that. And they didn't perform that well. And I think I had honestly been honest, I just wanted to see how it felt to like have a viral moment, like to see how it felt. And I saw at the time, my thing with social media was very strategic. I just saw at the time that there was a huge conversation about Gen Z in the workforce. And I was a Gen Z at work. And I would always see corporate humor down my timeline. So I had just decided to do a video in regards to corporate humor. But specifically on Gen Z in the workforce, because I was a Gen Z in the workforce. And a lot of the things that I was saying in my video was actually based off of my experience in corporate America, though. That's not a lie. That was true. A lot of those early on videos were things or prompts that I overheard or happened to me, and my video was a way of how I wish I would have responded to it.
Yeah.
Because of course, my responses on my videos are very dramatic and not at all how you should speak to anybody in a corporate space. But that's for the comical effect, of course. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into doing that corporate style content.
Yeah. I remember when you started doing Jack, where like Jack was like the other person. And I thought that was so funny. And it was, I think at that point I was still in my master's program. So you even shed light to something that I didn't even know about. I was like, oh, is this how corporate life is? Is this how I'm going to have to present myself? And so I really resonated a lot with what you were talking about. Yeah. And it blew up because so many of Gen Z thinks about the workplace very differently than other generations. I think millennials we can relate to on some level as well, but there's a lot of relatability in regards to protecting our peace and having boundaries and having a life outside of work. And your life and your content has taken you into a different direction. So you may not have as much of a traditional job on the day-to-day as other people do, but there is a level of boundaries that you have to find. So you're on social media. That's 24/7, nonstop. How do you find that work-life balance in your own way?
Yeah. Work-life balance is something that, as of recently, I've really struggled with. I think that when I was still in corporate America and I was doing social media, because I was still, for a very long part of my social media journey, I still was working a full-time corporate job too. I was really doing both for a minute. And that's when my work-life balance suffered the most, because I would be working from 9 to 5. And then after I would log out of work, I had to create content for social media. I had to create content for brand deals. On weekends, I was traveling to do a speaking engagement, or I was traveling. So I really never had time for life. And it was hard because I feel like in my content and in my videos, I always talked about work life, and I wasn't even practicing what I was preaching at the time. And even now, I think once I quit my job, that work life became a little more clear, simply because I had more time for myself. But even before I quit my job, there were little things I would do for myself. I wouldn't call it at the time a work-life balance, but I'm only saying this to say, because sometimes there are points in your life and in your career where it's really hard to find that balance.
Right.
You can be working a job, you can be working multiple jobs, have side hustles going. Like there can be a lot happening at once where finding that balance can be very difficult. And in those times, it was so important that I just at least took a few hours of the day for myself. And that's kind of how I got into fitness and got into the gym. And I didn't go to the gym at first to have some insane, crazy body. I just went because that was my time to shut out the world and shut out everything I had going on and just hone in with myself. So I would listen to motivational podcasts while I was at the gym. Like I would literally not even play gym music. I would play just like sounds. So it could be, what is that, like white noise?
White noise.
So I would play white noise in the gym because it was just my time to really just lock in with me. So for people that are watching who maybe have a lot going on and finding that work-life balance is difficult at this moment in your life, I think that's okay. I personally think it's okay to have moments where you are just all in for your purpose and you're doing something towards your final goal. But make sure that you still do create time for yourself in those moments. But now when it comes to work-life balance, now I'm just crazy. I think I take on more than I need to. Mm-hmm. And I think that just comes from, I have this personally, I talked about this with my therapist recently. I have this fear of losing everything. It's a huge fear of mine. And I think a huge part of the reason I have this fear is because I'm on a career track. This comes with not even just me, but all people who just do business, are in a business space. There's no consistency. You never know where anything is headed and where things are going. And therefore, I feel like every time something happens, I feel as if I need to take it just in case tomorrow doesn't happen, right? And I had to realize, and I'm becoming better at this, that you don't have to take everything. You know, you're here for a reason. You weren't brought this far to get left. And just starting to take the things that make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that is how I've started to create now in my life some sort of balance where I take things that make sense. I do travel a lot for work. That's just a part of what I do. But even when I am traveling, making sure that there's time for me within my travel. So when I go out of town, let's say I'm staying for 2 days for an event or something, I'll stay an extra 2 days to relax, to unwind, do a spa. One thing I love facials. I get a facial like every week, honestly.
You really do. That's why your skin look like that.
I'm always getting facials, but that's just my time. I don't know. I don't love massages, but I love facials because I don't know, something about people touching my face. I love facials. So it's just so important that you find time for yourself and inside of the things that you do. And I think the best way to balance is 2 days of work, 2 days for yourself, or 5 days of work, 5 days for yourself. But that's in my field of work. When you're in corporate, you can't do 5 days for you and 5 days.
Heck no.
But when you're more in entrepreneurial space, there's times where you can take for you, you know, and that time looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely one of the heavier seasons of my life. Like from 4 to 9 every day, like I'm grinding. But I think something that grounds me is working out. I love solid core. Also getting into my gratitude journal, doing devotion, and even just talking to my friends throughout the day, finding people who can relate on my level, going on walks. I love a good walk in DC with my boba. Like it's just my boba. It's everything. It's everything. And just realizing that this won't always be the case. This is very temporary. And going back to what you're saying, a level of, I think 20s is all about surrendering and just trusting the process and trusting that things will work out. We're on a journey. we all have our own individual purposes and our own individual paths. And as scary as that may be to not know the next step or the next turning point, there is solace in knowing that. Like,
there's
I don't have
beauty,
to figure,
but there's beauty in not knowing what the next step is, right? Because it gives you something to look forward to. Like you're in a season right now where you said where you're in hustle mode, you're on go. And those seasons, this is not going to be your first season where you're in hustle mode and on go. They come and go. Because I'll say now in my life, I'm back in that hustle mode on go season. And we have seasons where we do hustle and we do work. And then we have seasons where we can chill. And then we have seasons where we're back work. And I don't know, there's so much beauty in that. Because I don't know. I'm just somebody, I don't care to know how everything's gonna pan out. I just want to keep working towards the thing I love and what I care about and what I'm driven by in this world, and let God handle the rest.
Yeah.
As long as I know that I'm doing something that fulfills me, I'm okay with putting in the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you do things that fulfill you as well, which is why you don't mind putting in the work and having those rough seasons, right? Because you know that at the end of the day, they're just gonna play out for your betterment. And
100%.
That's how I feel too, where there are rough seasons and there are times where I'm like, okay, I could stop this and just do something a little more secure and a little more secure. But just the thought of what else is in store for me keeps me going.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
You
really never know where you're gonna be.
Literally.
And I think that's the beauty of life, in my opinion.
Yeah, like who would have thought a year ago? Because, I've been sitting on doing this podcast for 2 years now?
Yeah.
And I think you told me at one point, like, girl,
just do it.
Yeah, like, when are you going to start? And I was like, I don't know how. Like, I'm not qualified. Who's going to help me? And things like that.
Yeah.
But to look about, like, a year later, we're sitting on my mama's couch. This is the season finale of 2 Decades Deep. And you and I are sitting here just talking about our own individual journeys. Yeah. It's crazy how life works. And honestly, like, oh my gosh, now me teared up. I knew it.
Emotional Tay.
No, literally. I just think that just God has a funny way of putting people in your path. And obviously I've known that you're going to be my brother forever, but just the ways that we've been able to intertwine our lives and to support each other through the ups and the downs. We've seen each other through a lot of different seasons. Yeah. You've seen me where I didn't feel like I knew who I was. You've seen me through heartbreak. You've seen me through a lot of different paths. And just to be here sitting with you on 2 Decades Deep season finale, it's been a joy.
Oh, girl, we're wrapping up. Oh my goodness.
No, I mean,
you said it's been a joy.
No, I'm just saying it's been a joy. I do have a few more questions for you. Then we are going to wrap it up, though. Yeah. So you talked about what keeps you going is to always have something to look forward to. So you have reached a point in your life. You said that you're just getting started. Yeah. So what are some of the things, you don't have to reveal like some of your new projects or anything, but what are some of the things that you're working on or that you're excited about in the future?
To that point, and I'm gonna say it, but you never know why God put certain people in your life, right? And
you crying?
No, I'm choking. Once I got to a space in social media, and you remember I told you this, where I felt down. I felt like maybe this wasn't for me anymore. God put people that were also that shared the same space, because y'all are all, I say anybody that I went to high school with, y'all are family. Like, I don't even really look at y'all as friends. Y'all are my family. Y'all are dang near blood at this point. But you all you all are very helpful and you all give me great advice. But at the end of the day, you can only understand what I go through so much simply because you're not doing it, if that makes sense. So I feel like God had put people in my life who literally do the same thing I do. So they understand exactly what I'm going through, right? In the moments I'm going through it. And I say all that to say that these 2 people that were put in my life, when we became cool, the internet was confused. They were like, why are those 3 friends? They're completely different. How did they even meet? What's going on? people thought, oh, this is just for clout. They're just using it to get up. But we genuinely just found a connection. It was me, my friend Malik, and Remus. We found a connection, and we have been so close ever since. And through that connection, I'm happy to share, we kind of started to become inspirational for younger Black gay males that look up to us or want to achieve success, and showing that there's more than one way to do it, because we all are so different. We all have very different brands. So I'm super excited that one of the several projects I'm working on, we are doing a podcast with a big network.
Oh my God.
So we've been shopping around. We've landed on one already, but we're still in the shopping process.
Just perusing.
Just seeing what else is out there. But
yeah.
So we're starting that soon. And you know me, I love an intentional conversation. So, to be
100%.
nothing but that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm really excited about that next part of my chapter. What else is happening? I'm working on, I'm trying to think, can I share that? When is this airing?
This will air the first week in June.
Okay, I can't share that. No, but I'm working on a lot of other things. Like I'm currently working on something that is for college students to help aid them throughout college. So yeah, there's a lot happening. So yeah.
That is absolutely amazing, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, I cannot wait to listen to you and Raymonte and Malik just talk and kiki, but also share and shed light on a lot of issues that we face in the Black community. And I do have one more question for you.
Yes.
If you could speak to any 20-something, any Black 20-something who is about to embark on their early careers journey, what is something that you wish you would have known that you would want them to know?
Something I wish I would have known. To just not be afraid to ask things. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear hold you back from asking and going after things that you want. There's a lot of connections I could have really built, and I kind of let them slip away because I was too scared to speak, or I was afraid of how it will look if I ask. And I'm one of those people, I never want to come off as needy, but child, if you want to get somewhere in this life, sometimes you just have to be willing to put yourself out there and see where that takes you. And yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think asking questions sometimes comes across as not, you're ignorant, you don't know a lot, or you're not like you're.
But not even just
Nabeel.
asking questions specifically. I'm speaking more so to, for example, you may be at an event or you may be doing something, right? And you see somebody who is like, I would love to connect with them, or I would love to get to know them. And because of your fear and being afraid, you don't allow yourself to go over to speak to them, or and I'm speaking more so to that, because that's something that I still deal with now, but I dealt with a lot when I was first starting out in what I do currently. And I realized how it really was holding me back from getting to the space I wanted to be, just being afraid to really put yourself out there. And I had a huge fear in that. I think that could be some insecurity stuff too, but that's another topic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. It's hard putting yourself out there. I mean, think about it. As 20-somethings, there are people that are well in the game. There are people that are really experienced. We talked about imposter syndrome, and it's really hard to put yourself out there. But honestly, once you start, it becomes easier and easier and easier.
Yeah. I think for me, I have a huge fear of rejection, and I'm afraid of being
Same.
rejected, which is why it was always so difficult for me. But I've adapted this new mindset now in my 20s, where 20s are meant to try things, fail, try again, fail, and keep trying. Like, what do you have to really lose in your 20s? Like, honestly, what is there to lose?
Nothing.
Like, what's the worst that can happen? And I don't even think this is a worst case scenario, but I feel like you can try anything in your 20s. And the worst that happens is it fails. And I'm like, that's not even a worst thing because you learn so much through failed things. Through things that fail, you learn so much. And there's so much to take from that, from failures. But I don't know. Like, I just love being in this space and like being young, and just wanting so much more out of life because I don't, like I said, I used to feel behind, but now I don't feel behind. I feel in the right space. And I know like tomorrow I may wake up and I'll decide I don't want to do any of this anymore. I want to become an Olympian. I don't know. I can do that. It's like I'm in my 20s. And you don't have, I feel like the reason why it's so important to do this in your young ages, in your 20s, is because you don't really have any other real responsibilities. And I'm not saying that for everyone, because some people do. Some people have children. Some people do have real responsibilities. But for those that don't, you have a lot of extra free time. Take advantage of that free time. I know this may sound crazy coming from someone like me, but don't spend hours and hours scrolling away on your phone. I remember I did this one day because I have a bad habit of scrolling away on my phone.
Same.
But I kind of get away with it because it's also my work. But that's not an excuse. I have a bad habit of scrolling away for hours. And you look up and it's like 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And for one day, I literally checked my phone in the morning, did not use my phone all day, and I got so much done. It just felt so good, and it really opened my mind to so much more than just what's in front of me on my screen, and to the amount of opportunities and the amount of things that I can do if I just sit my phone down and clear my head and allow myself to think about other things that I'm interested in. So yeah, I think I only say that for people in their 20s because we tend to be addicted to these cellular devices.
Yeah, us living in this digital world, we're the only generation
Yeah.
who've all grown up in this digital space, and it can be really time consuming. It can seem like our only reality. It's a great way to connect. It's a great way to be in touch with people, but it also can be a little hindering as well.
Yeah,
So
it has its positives and negatives.
Oh, 100%. Like everything, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, DeAndre, I think you are absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Are my brother, but also just to hear your accomplishments and just to be able to have a bird's eye view into your life is amazing.
Yeah.
I do have one more question. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be me without
What are
asking
you
1,000 questions. So looking back at your younger self, what is something that you would love for your younger self to know, or what would you tell your younger self?
Something to tell my younger self.
Like that high schooler or...
To just not be afraid. Don't be scared. Don't let fear hold you back. Yeah. Because I was always so afraid as to how I was showing up in the world and feeling like, similar to like kind of what I was telling you earlier, like I wouldn't be respected or accepted without an accomplishment or something behind it. But really starting to recognize that you're enough without all of that. You don't need things, and you don't need a fancy resume to validate you. You just being you and showing up as you every day is enough within itself. And not to allow people to discourage me or put me down, and not to really care about, learn just not to care about other people's thoughts and opinions on the things that you're doing. There's a lot of things I would tell my younger self. I would also I would have told my younger self to be appreciative too. And it's not really within the business realm of things, but honestly, to just be appreciative of the family that you have, because you only get one family, right? And I was so blessed. Thank God, I was so blessed to have, for the most part, a really supportive family of everything I do, and that really want to see you too, like to see the best and to see you thrive and just go after the things that you want to go after in this world. And that's truly a blessing. And when you're younger you know, and you know, girl, like we would have our talks like, oh, I'm so annoyed. Like, oh, my mom's annoying me. Like we would have those conversations, but we like, it's really a blessing to even be able to say my mom X, my mom, you know, because a lot of people they don't have that. And don't take for granted your family and the people that are around you that love you and support you. Like, do not take that for granted. And I would have told my younger self that, because I took it for granted a lot, because I always felt, you know, I always just felt like, oh, why is this my life? Why is this? And now I look back and I'm like, man, I love y'all so much. What would I have done without you all, right? The people in your family, the people that surround you, your friends, your family, they are who help mold you into the person that you are. And yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about all the people and the support system in your life. And I do think I've also taken that for granted and really taken my life for granted.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about it's easy to look to the right and to the left. But through this journey, through the chaos and the complexities of just getting older and in your 20s, you really do find yourself, and you really find out that you're exactly where you need to be. And that's easier said than done. There are periods that are harder than others. I think in this period in my life, me starting this podcast with zero budget, zero plan, I didn't know exactly how I was going to be able to execute this. So to be to the end is something that I'm very proud of, and I'm excited to continue this journey. But that doesn't negate the fact that 3-4 months ago, I didn't know how I was going to execute this, and I was really scared. Yeah. And so I think that's just a good reminder, talking to you, being here with you. You see me through all these different periods of my life, that we really do find ourselves and we're exactly where we need to be.
Yeah. And I'm glad you ended up actually doing the podcast. I really am glad you did it, because you don't even realize, well, maybe you do or maybe you don't, but you probably realize this, but because I've told you this before, how much seeing you do your thing and watching these and seeing this, how it, even just us talking here today together, how it really helps me, because you have expertise in this field. Like, this is you, this is what you do. And as somebody who is trying to get into a space where you have already conquered, because you have degrees in it. I don't have. So I don't know. I'm always so inspired by you because of that. And like, remember I told you, I was like, I don't know, I think I should go to school for journalism. And what did you tell me? You were like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, just, you know, I can help you. And just always having someone such as yourself, such as a family member, such as you, who we can just be so like really insightful to each other. Like, there's so much I learn from you that I don't even know if you recognize I learn and take from you. And yeah. Well,
the feeling is 100% mutual.
But that's the point of friendship. Like, that's what friendship is about. We are supposed to learn from each other. We are supposed to grow together. And I think it's hard to find, you know, sometimes you find friends that just see you in certain seasons. So being able to find a friend that has grown with you in every season is just so rare. And I'm like just so blessed and lucky to have that, because we've been with each other for a minute now, and
like 11 years.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Time be flying, bro.
And we just getting started.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm excited. I can't wait till we're like sitting on our estates and we're like calling each other, and I'm like, you're like, I want to see my nieces and nephews, and I'm like, okay, well, fire up the private jet so we can come visit you all. You know,
and it's coming. It's coming. Right. Well, thank you so much, Deandre. Thank you for being on the season finale of 2 Decades Deep.
Thank you for having me, and congrats to season 1 done. Season 2 coming soon.
Dunzo. It's a wrap. I'm sweating bullets.